My country, for example, Estonia, we have very clearly said that first, we will be there. And second, we have also said what we're going to be there to.
Now, the US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, is hosting meetings with European allies today, setting about the task of drafting security guarantees for Ukraine, or trying to. But those hopes of American support are dwindling. The colleague at the Pentagon, the Undersecretary Elbridge Colby, is reported to have said yesterday that America would play a minimal role in guaranteeing security for Ukraine. I'm now joined by Ambassador Sven Sakkov, the new ambassador for Estonia to London. Welcome to you.
Thank you.
It's good to see you here. So look, these European leaders and their American hosts wrangling about what various countries might contribute to a force guarding peace in Ukraine when and if it comes. In your view, Ambassador, in your country's view, can we even say such a force will even be possible?
Well, we do not know it yet, and the reason is that there is no sign really that Putin wants to move towards peace. I think it's clear and evident to everybody that Russia can end the war tomorrow. If it stops fighting, then it's going to be the start of a ceasefire and so forth. But he's not. Why? Because I think very clearly he thinks that he is prevailing. So what we could do, first and foremost, is to try to change his calculation that he is not winning. And we can do that first by supporting Ukraine, laying additional economic pressure on Russia for aggression, what it has undertaken, and then, of course, also being prepared, if the time comes, to actually help Ukraine maintain the peace, which right now I do not see yet in a grasp.
No, peace still looks pretty elusive, to put it mildly, doesn't it? If we are waiting for Vladimir Putin to say it's okay with him for NATO member countries to deploy troops into Ukraine on Ukrainian territory when a ceasefire comes, if it comes, we're going to wait forever, because he's not going to do that, Ambassador, is he?
He's not. And why on earth do we need to have his consent? It's not his country. We need to have a consent of, first, Ukraine as a host country, and second, of course, we need to have kind of willing contributors to a force. My country, for example, Estonia, we have very clearly said that first, we will be there, and second, we have also said what we're going to be there to.
And that includes troops on the ground.
Troops on the ground in a form or in a size of a company. So we're talking, and plus here and there something else. So we're talking about maybe 150, 200 people. Now, not too much, right? If you think that Estonian population is 1.3 million people, which is about 54 times smaller than UK, then that would correspond to 11,000 British soldiers. So in per capita terms, this is not a trivial contribution for us to make, but of course, in the aggregate sense, we don't matter too much because the number is quite small.
Right. Now, if it is the case, if you argue, and it seems to be a pretty sensible point, that if we're going to deploy these troops, we should do it whether Putin likes it or not. It means ignoring his suggestion that to deploy NATO troops on Ukrainian territory would amount to an act of war. It's about calling his bluff.
I think we have been, throughout the last 3 years and a half, calling his bluff so many times. He said that NATO countries providing aircraft, for example, to Ukraine is gonna have serious consequences. Tanks is gonna have serious consequences. Attacks on Russian territory by Ukrainian forces using Western missiles gonna have a serious consequences. And we have seen that actually when Europe and the West have been able to show strength, we had prevailed. When we were afraid to do something, Putin prevailed.
Your close neighbour, Poland, which is doing a lot. It's investing an awful lot in Polish defence. It's been giving a lot of support to Ukraine. But they also say, when it comes to a coalition force, a reassurance force, a coalition of the willing, they will support that force, but they won't put Polish troops into Ukraine. They're too badly needed, they say, on the border, where Poland has to look to its own defence. So that's a difference from your country. Just explain that difference in thinking to me.
I think the Polish case is quite, let's say, logical.
Illogical.
Is logical.
Is logical.
But at the same time, we feel that the need for such a force, if it comes to be, is prevailing. It's even more important that actually, have another 200, of our own forces in Estonia. What is important for us is, of course, that the NATO's overall posture in its frontline states is not going to diminish through some kind of security force to be deployed to Ukraine. As you know, we have a British battle group in Estonia, together with some French troops. This is very important, not just for Estonia, but NATO's and European security, because that actually fills Article 5 with content, with actual fighting forces which are deployed to the frontline nations. So overall, of course, we do not want that to be going down. Also, that basically, to put it otherwise, we do not want the Ukraine security force to be at the expense of NATO's presence at the frontline countries in general, because yes, that's why I say there is some logic in what Roland is saying. We think it's more important to get this force running in Ukraine than there is some kind of ceasefire, peace and so forth, and we know what it's actually going to do there.
Right, so how about a coalition, Ambassador, of Ukraine's friends to oversee a peace, a ceasefire, a cessation of hostilities, and hopefully deter a new attack? America's contribution is going to be very, very important. Now, we heard from Sebastian Gorka. You will, I'm sure, know, is a very outspoken member of the Trump team. He sits in the Pentagon, the Defense Department. Have a listen to this.
It's quite strange to put the onus upon us. It's on your doorstep. This isn't a war that's raging in Canada or Mexico. This is a war that is happening on the Eurasian landmass on the European continent. So, yes, if there are nations that should be more eager and prioritizing some kind and doing something to make that happen, it should be the members of the European Union and NATO who are part of the European continent. What it will not be, I can guarantee you, is it won't be nation building and troops on the ground from the United States Armed Forces.
So America talking in pretty minimal terms about support for a coalition presence. What do you make of that? I mean, can you now say that America under President Trump should still be seen as an important, reliable ally?
US is a vital ally of NATO, of ours, including basically providing for the overall security of the whole NATO territory. That's number one. Second is that I want to reassure the previous speaker whom we listened to the broadcast from, that actually, yes, Europe is putting a lot of effort into ending the Russian war of aggression in Ukraine. And if there is going to be some assurance force, Europe will be playing a major part of that. I think European leaders have very clearly said that for that to happen, they think there is a need for the American backstop, American basically guarantees to that force and additional guarantees maybe for those member countries of NATO and the EU who will be deploying there. That does not necessarily mean that there has to be American forces on the ground, because, I mean, American capabilities are really good in intelligence, in air, in communications, things like that. Where actually, in many cases, European capabilities are not that good.
I mean, the answer to this, I guess, is we can't know. But obviously, intelligence is useful. We saw that when it was withdrawn by the Trump administration for a short period. But of course, air power is also very important. If that is to play a part, it would mean a clear promise from America that those American air forces would be used in battle if they're called upon against Russia.
Well, I think this is the premise and the promise of overall what NATO is about. And now we're actually talking about...
Ukraine is not a NATO member.
Now we're talking about something which is outside of NATO territory. And this is basically where the question right now is.
Ambassador Sven Sakkov of Estonia, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks a lot.
Good to talk to you.